So welcome. We are so excited to have everyone join us this evening where we are going to talk about starting your postpartum concierge. So quite a few of you know me, not that I'm famous or anything, but I'm Dr. Ranika Stewart. And I am, let me go to the the page, the founder of the Concierge Nurse Network and also Post-Op Recovery Bootcamp, which is why I know a few of you are familiar with me that way. But before we go into too much on the intro, just make sure, please, that unless we're doing the chatting towards the end, that your mics are on mute. You can definitely, as this is going on during the presentation, I'll be looking at the chat box. I'm sure TJ will as well. And we will send a replay via email. So just to keep it from being a little too wild, we want you to definitely type in the chat box. And towards the end, like if we want to like interact or turn on. Somebody's mics. Mics on mute, y'all.
Oh.
Just so we can keep it. Okay, y'all ignore me going through these screens in the wrong order. Okay, so let's back up. This is what we're going to talk about this evening. So we'll tell you a little bit about ourselves. We're going to tell you the why you should, if you weren't thinking about it at all, start at Postpartum Concierge. We're going to talk about services that you can provide, scope of practice. Scope of practice is always a huge question. Legalities and just some basics of setting up your business, things that you can start kind of looking at, researching. And then who needs this service and where do we find them? So I'll start talking, but TJ and I will both kind of share and talking because this is specifically exactly what she does, but she definitely has some gems for you all tonight. But we're both happy to, at the end, we'll tell you about our upcoming course, because of course there's something coming up, right? And then also just leave it open for you to ask any and everything that you want to ask, okay? So y'all hang in there with us and hang in there with me working these slides because okay, so again, I'm Dr. Stewart. I'm the founder of the Concierge Nurse Network, our own adaptive wellness and recovery. I specialize in post-op recovery and IV therapy, as well as general wellness. My background, as we were just saying, ranges from plastic surgery recovery to intensive care, to a little bit of mental health, to senior geriatric care, to home health care, to urgent care. That's probably enough now, but I have my current business. I absolutely do specialize in a concierge style business, with cosmetic surgery being the main offering at this point, but it will be expanding into exactly what we're talking about tonight, postpartum, but also senior care. So that is a little bit about me, and you can definitely keep up. Some of you follow or are friends with me on Facebook. My name, Ranika Stewart. On Instagram, the Concierge Nurse Network, and on Facebook we have the group, the Concierge Nurse Network. So if you're not there, definitely join. And now I will let Tajanda go ahead and talk a bit about herself.
Yes. So first of all, thank you guys for just jumping on this thing. Like I said before, we have this huge population that we have to serve, and you guys have the same heart as I do. But yes, I am Tajanda Bradley. I go by TJ, Nurse TJ. I'm a nurse, RN in the state of Florida. I am the founder of Mommy to Postpartum and Beyond. I'm so excited because she just got trademarked and she is mine. So
I love it.
Yes, really excited about that. But my services are out of Jacksonville, Florida. So 2 years ago, I started my postpartum nurse concierge service, and I've incorporated IV hydration services here for my postpartum families. I absolutely love what I do. I mean, I get to, be there for these families in their most intimate moment in time. But a little bit about my background is I started in med-surg. Then I went to research for 5 years. I did inpatient clinical trials, absolutely loved it. And then my path took me to hospice. So I did hospice for a little bit. And I absolutely felt fulfilled in that role too. And so again, if any of you were listening to the live, I really don't have that background in postpartum care or, labor and delivery. Besides my preceptorship that I did, that's pretty much it. And so the fact that I'm here now, having a thriving business, doing a webinar with all of you boss, nurses who have this extensive experience, you are nurse practitioners, you are doulas, you are just, this is just crazy. So I'm really excited about it. But yes, so you can follow me on Instagram at mommy2.llc. And I'm on Facebook as well. And really my passion for starting my business was really just the fact that I went through postpartum myself twice, and so I think me going through that and the heart that I have and the compassion that I have, it was a no-brainer. So yeah, a little bit about me.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And yes, we do have some great, very broad experience here, but definitely specific to postpartum and taking care of women after. So let's talk a little bit about why you should, if you weren't thinking about it at all until last week, why you should start a postpartum concierge. But even before that, I was going to say, TJ definitely kind of downplayed it. Like, her business is insanely thriving, booming. I met her a couple of years ago. She was in it. She was doing the postpartum, and then we worked together on the IV therapy. But it's just a synergy of all the services and what she already was offering. It has I'm just we talk frequently, and it has really exploded, and they are loving what she has to offer. I remember at one point when I talked to her, she was just like, it's like I'm talking and no one's listening. Like, does anybody want this? But once we could hone in on exactly who would want this and who she was talking to, she does better than me on social media. I'm just I'm super impressed. So that's a bit about that. So this is just some reasons. And of course, TJ, I know I'll come back to you on just your general. You told us a little bit of your why, but the statistics wise, we know, even though this is not on this slide, we know the issues that face moms in this country. We know the sad and dire statistics as far as maternal death rates, as far as resources for moms. Most people assume that pregnancy and childbirth and everything involved in that is always a happy time. Most people, we know that it can come with its own set of stressors, its own set of challenges and struggles. But sometimes we know as women that we just we tough it out, or we don't really take advantage of, or we feel like we're not a woman if we take advantage of resources out there. Now, what I've noticed in the last few years is that a lot of moms, a lot of families even are saying, we don't have to tough this out. We don't have to be the superhero. We can take advantage of resources. What is there out there? So I'm seeing, even in my area, more and more moms using doulas, doing the childbirth education. And not only are they doing this, but they're paying out of pocket for it, because the focus on health, just generally speaking, is more on prevention, more on being proactive. And this fits right into that picture. It's another piece of the puzzle. Well, we know that for IV therapy. We even know that for surgery and post-op care. But guess what? Another time when it's important to have the proper support, when it's important to be proactive about your wellness as well as your family's wellness, is definitely pregnancy and especially the immediate postpartum period. So this study at the top, I had TJ send me, I was like, give me some statistics. We always gotta have throw something at me. And this was interesting, but there was a study of 10,000 moms, and there were close to 22% that had some sort of depression before, during, or after pregnancy. But what stood out to me that was close to half, it was a little over 40%, most of them, that depression began during the postpartum period. So we definitely can relate that to that same complex that, we're supposed to be happy. We're supposed to tough it out. We're supposed to naturally know how to take on the care of a newborn and still balance the family and all the things that are already possibly going on before this baby enters the picture. So a lot of the time, none of this is the case, but we feel like we have to make that, or moms feel like we have to make it seem to be the case. So, most women actually experience or have the issue with depression in the postpartum period. Ignore the typo, but adequate postpartum support, it helps facilitate a healthier environment for the mom and baby, but also the family. So anything we do, we want to approach it from the holistic standpoint. So we have to involve, the family as well. I know just back in the day, I heard statistics about violence, towards babies and children. And a lot of the times, just think about, have you heard that story of the baby who had colic or wouldn't stop crying, and the family or even the parents were just not equipped to deal with that, and they didn't have the proper support or education. So this is where we as nurses can work again on the proactive preventative side. And who knows, like we could be saving not just, a mom from depression, but a baby's life for that matter, with the proper education and support for how to deal with certain issues and challenges that will arise. Moms often feel alone. Like I know a lot of us can relate to that, mainly just because we don't feel like we can really say this is tough. And that is even with a supportive partner. Let's think about the fact that a lot of the times we all have this pretty picture of how we want our birth or the birth process to go. Sometimes it doesn't happen that way. That's an increased risk for postpartum depression. There's another group of women. I don't even know if someone on this webinar may be a part of that group, but some moms are making a choice to be single mothers by choice, meaning they are having their children outside of, having a partner by choice. So that's a whole different population of women who would possibly need this service or be interested in having that additional support. And then ultimately, just like in my world on the post-op side of things, sometimes people just aren't as available, and they have good intentions, but they just can't provide the support that may be needed or expected. So TJ, what else do you want to add? Because I know
Yeah, I have so much, but I have to stay on task. I have all these things that are just floating around. But yeah, so like there are so many types of, perinatal mood disorders. And when we go into these homes, when we meet with these families, when we meet with these, moms and dads and grandparents, our job is like really just to really screen them and make sure that they are doing well mentally. When I go in and I see these families, I do focus on the physical aspect, but there is so much more that they are in need of. And when we focus on that mental health aspect of it, we can make sure that those moms and those dads have the support that they need to just to take care of themselves, to reduce the exacerbation of, physical things that may be going on, them wanting to harm themselves, them wanting to harm their baby. So it's really important that we have these nurses go out, have this support, this knowledge, to educate them on things to look out for, to, just to kind of really just to be their support system. So yeah, every time I go and I visit a family, the very first 15 minutes of that visit is a physical assessment. And then it moves on to whatever it is that she needs. And I know we'll probably get more into like what the visit entails, maybe here, maybe next time, but we just really
course.
Yeah, right. And of course, yeah, it's just like I said, it's just so much. And you'd be surprised at how many fathers deal with, postpartum depression. I personally dealt with postpartum anxiety. It was beyond, it was me driving over a bridge and thinking the worst that would happen, to the point where, I tried to invest in getting a floaty because I've had these things played out in my head that would happen. And I had these intrusive thoughts. With my husband and with some other families that I've worked with, the dads go through some type of postpartum depression, but they don't know what it is. They just think that they are more moody than usual. They don't have the interest that they once had in certain things. And it just doesn't create that. We don't want those families to go through that transition alone, because just like, I mean, think about it. For all my labor and delivery nurses, once, I mean, that mom, or even midwifery, that mom is at home or she's in the hospital and she is surrounded by so much support, right? She has her doctors there. I got somebody trying to break in this door, one of my little ones. She has, she has this whole team that's surrounding her. And then that breakdown happens as soon as they leave the hospital, as soon as they leave that their water birth or their birthing center. Like, it all breaks down, and then they feel so alone, especially first time moms. Mm-hmm. And just like you mentioned, the birth may not go as planned or the way that they planned it, and so that creates, a sense of them feeling like their body failed them, mm-hmm. or they're not good enough. And it's just, and what we're here to do is to kind of coach them and let them know, like, just to be their support, and then to give them the resources that they need to thrive, So I absolutely love what I'm doing. So yeah. Any questions on that?
Yeah, y'all have questions about that before we go on? Any, and I told them they can also type them in the chat.
Okay.
So I was just going to say, absolutely. So we know the need there, but then we also know that there's anything concierge. What we do is concierge nursing definitely has a luxury aspect to it. So like I said, some moms, it's one thing that, they're like, I really need this service. But then other moms are like, I want this service because I can. That's kind of how they're thinking. Like, it's a luxury aspect. It's more hands-on. Think about the ones that hire a nanny. So it's kind of similar to that concept, but they know that, they've done their research and they know the risk, or even they know themselves or what, they may have dealt with previously. So yes, everyone can't always pay cash for these services, but at the same time, there are those who are, more aware and in tune, and they know, like, I'm going to do this because I can.
Right. Yeah, right. Absolutely. And just to add to that, like, in my business and in your business, when you get going, you'll have like these little tiers that you'll have. You'll have your freebies that maybe like your support, postpartum support groups, and then you'll have like a middle tier where, you may have like some virtual coaching, and then you'll have your higher tier for those clients who are able to pay for that nurse level service. And you'd be surprised, they will. And in this course, what we're going to do is tell you how to find those clients, because they're there. It's just, you got to know how to talk to them. You got to let them know that you are a nurse. And like I said, some of you guys are doulas, so that's even, and lactation consultants. So I mean, like, you got it in the bag, So, yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So scope of practice, of course, this comes up. Everyone wants to know who can start any business that I know that I mentor people for. So RN, LPN, APRN, any nurse. That's, our audience, and that's kind of the perspective that we're speaking from. So the main thing is always to stay within your state defined scope of practice. So you're not going to be out here prescribing this or prescribing that. You're not going to work against the OBGYN, in this case, care plan. You're going to always work in support of their care plan. So as long as you're staying, monitoring, education, coaching, assessing for RNs. In some states, that's not necessarily an LPN scope, but again, work within your scope. Always be aware of your state-defined scope of practice. I can't say that I can tell you every state scope, but it is important that you, as the person licensed in that state, are aware, and just know that this is absolutely something that you can do profitably, legally, and at a very high level, and meeting these moms where they are. and be well within your scope. I'm stopping for a second. Let's see. Do you find some families need resources for medication management for mood disorders? I would definitely say so. This is a question about medication. Do you notice that some of your people, TJ, need help with or referrals for medication management? Of course, medication management in that sense, that's not our scope, right? But like you said, she did say resources. So I know I would definitely connect with other people in the community who maybe specialize in postpartum depression. And this is where building that network and building your community is important.
That's exactly it. You have to make sure that like in one situation, I had a mom who, I did the Edinburgh screening with her, and she definitely needed some resources. So I had already connected with a psychiatrist in the area, and I called her. I said, "Hey, this mom gave me permission to talk to you just a little bit about what she's going through. Are you able to reach out to her?" Yes. And the rest was history. So yeah, I definitely refer. I mean, not technically refer, but give them the resources that they need. And a lot of times I make the call because that's what they want. You're the nurse, you're able to speak the same language as those disciplines, and it just makes them feel like they're getting that extra level of service, because you're calling these doctors, you're calling these other disciplines. So yeah.
I love it. And that's the premise of being a concierge service. Like we're not only just providing a service, but we're coordinating care and collaborating and building a true community to support our clients. So that is one of the beautiful aspects of what we do as concierge nurses as well. Let's see. I have not to a psychiatrist. Okay, let's see. So would it be better to go this route or to become certified as a postpartum doula? I think it's a little different. Can you kind of talk a little bit about, because I know you also network with doulas, like what you do as a nurse, postpartum or RN versus doula?
Yes, so I'll first say that doulas, at first I thought they would be my competition, but in a sense they are, but we are friends. We're in the same network. We are seeing the same people. They give me, they refer clients to me if their clients need IV hydration services. And, and if I know someone who needs some lactation consulting, I will refer them, give them the resources to connect. So this is tricky because the postpartum doula, if you want it, in my opinion, it is easier to connect with those postpartum families before they become postpartum. So if you were thinking about becoming a doula, I would do that and then maybe focus on, the postpartum side, like really catching those clients in their third trimester, second trimester. I know birth is not everybody's cup of tea. It's not really my cup of tea, so I get it. But it's an easier sell. It's an easier transition when they've already connected with you that third trimester and you've already, signed them up for a postpartum package or a lactation package. So I would say, if that's what you want to do, then sure, why not? But I guess just kind of giving you my experience from what I've seen.
I feel like I know some nurses are doulas, but not all doulas are nurses, right? Am I getting that right?
Right, absolutely.
There's not a thing wrong with combining the two, but the way I picture doulas is they're more, now we can do this, but they're partnering more along the front side of things and more along the actual birth journey and maybe during birth. I know they can absolutely do some postpartum versus this. We're talking like lots of support, nursing care, education, more so on the postpartum side. But I do know that even as we talk about add-on services, you can definitely add on some prior to birth services. So I honestly, I feel like I would do the doula training if I was more so really going to be a part of the actual birth, right? I know that that's a big part of what doulas do. They're advocating. That's my understanding, is that they're advocating during that pregnancy and actual birth process.
Yeah, so I will say yes, birth doulas are very powerful. I mean, they have their they have something about them. I mean, they just have this touch, they have this calming presence. I love doulas. But yeah, so explain the difference between the two. So a doula basically is someone who they're not having like a medical background. So in a sense, when you do a postpartum concierge service as a nurse, you're essentially doing the same thing, but you are doing more as far as like the assessments. You are using your nursing background to educate and to take blood pressures, and like a doula can't do that, or she's not supposed to do that. So yeah, but like I said, if you are a doula and a nurse, you can pretty much run wild with it.
It's a different scope.
I will also say that some of the nurses that I work with who are doulas, they're having a hard time drawing the line, because like with some of the doula clients, they may not be able to do something. They may not be able to, like, they just want to say, oh, I just want to work with this client as a doula. I don't want to do anything medical with them. But then we have our license to protect. So if you see a client, maybe she looks like she needs some type of assessment and you don't do it, or whatever the case may be. So it's just kind of, to me, it's harder to draw the line between the two. And so if you're thinking about just doing doula work versus, or just lactation consultant, but you're going there and you're not doing the nursing side of what you do, what you've been called to do, that can get kind of tricky.
That's just like health coaching when you're a nurse. But if something happens, you kind of have to keep from blurring the lines between just giving advice versus assessing and or making, recommendations from the nursing's perspective. So yes, blurring those lines can happen, but of course, if you have both, you're a nurse and a doula, that's a little bit different. Rashida was saying, like, if she could give an insight on the differences. Can you hold that for a second, and we'll come back to that. But yes, definitely, we would love to hear your perspective, because I know you were saying both. People came in like, I'm a doula, I'm an educator.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, that's why we talk about scope of practice. But it is, no matter what, if you're a nurse, I'll say this: if something goes down, if the what hits the fan, we're always held to our highest degree, or always held to our highest training. Right. So that is always something to keep in mind. And with that said, plan and your packages, your business, and what you offer accordingly. So we'll go beyond scope for a bit. I think I went. Okay, so there we go. Add-on services. Well, there's doula. So lactation, which is a separate certification. Coaching. TJ just talked about having different tiers of services and price points, which is very helpful because everybody may not be able to do the full support package, but having different tiers of services. So that's where coaching and support groups can go into a tier. Yes, you can provide doula services as well, or do that certification. IV therapy is a great pairing, even though initially we weren't even so sure, but over the last couple of years, we've just determined that it's a great add-on to already having this postpartum concierge. And of course, here in a little bit, we'll talk more about that. Anything else that I missed? I know I didn't put all the services.
Yeah. So if you can go back a little bit, I do want to touch on, so lactation consultant, like, that is hot. It is hot. I'm thinking about going and getting my certification. A lot of times if you are unable to catch those clients in the third trimester, usually they will reach out if there's a problem, right? They will reach out, they are Googling, baby won't latch, nurse, postpartum doula, they are Googling night nanny. So just think about those things. If you were a client, what would you Google, right? So what would you be searching for? And so a lot of my clients, a lot of them, I actually have these lactation consultants that I work with. I can pick their brain a little bit, but if a mom is really struggling and she needs help, obviously, hey, I have someone for you. I've reached out to her. I think you should call her, follow up with her. But lactation consultant is hot, hot, hot. Coaching, new mom coaching. I am a twin mom. I have many of my clients are twin moms. So, they know that I've been there before. So, do I really know all this stuff? What do I do? Just whatever it is that you are in need of, or your clients need. This is like coaching is good too. And a lot of times people just want to know that they're doing fine. Like they just want to know that they may feel like they are failing, they may feel overwhelmed, and sometimes they just need to know that they are doing fine and that this will pass, and what to expect in this season, and just giving your expertise there. IV therapy, listen, so funny. The IV therapy, would you believe that like the moms are the hardest people to sell for this? It is usually the dads, the granddads, the grandmas wanting their B12 injection, like all of this. And so it's in a sense, you can have 3 drips in a setting, as your postpartum visit with her, but you guys have already coordinated this IV therapy, you've already got your vitamins ready, and then that's a whole beast in its own, but it can be very lucrative if you can get them all together like that. And then doulas, again, we touched on doulas. And then support groups. Support groups are wonderful. I am actually hosting my very first postpartum support group. I'm so excited about it. It is next week. It's a free service, but at the same time, it allows for you to show your expertise. It allows for others to see who you are and the services that you can provide too. So it is, even though it can be free, so you won't get much, compensation for it. There's so much that you'll get from just doing those. And in the future, you can start to you can partner with these OB offices, or you can partner with these midwifery practices. And then you can say, hey, if I come for 2 hours, could you, compensate me $50 an hour, $85 an hour, whatever your hourly rate is for you to come in and do these postpartum support groups. And in that sense, their clients are happier. Their clients aren't calling the office 1,000 times. And like I said, and you're building that rapport with them.
Bridges. Oh, that's a grand idea. I didn't even have that. But yes, like reaching out to those providers and giving them something else. They love to be able to say, like, say they're doing an assessment and they're like, I'm struggling with this, and this. And like, here, we got a support group coming up. And that's a great thing that they now look like, or they actually care about their clients beyond just that office visit or what's going on with them during that office visit. And there's, like you said, that's not a big price to pay at all. So doing those with those clients and them
yes,
having I love that too, Rashida.
I don't like night nanny because I like my rest, but those moms, they want somebody they can trust. They want a nurse. They want, they will pay your price, your premium price, 1 or 2 times a night for like a month. You know what I mean? So that's something else that you can consider adding on, whatever you specialize in. Some people, they have postpartum sitz baths or postpartum packages that they can make, so whatever it is that you want to add on, it doesn't have to be something like this. It's just something to set you apart and make you very special.
Package. The shower package. Look here, I do those for post-ops, and you know me, postpartum moms need a shower package too. Right. So it could be a 2-hour package, and that someone takes the baby and they have assistance, or you're taking the baby and they have assistance for a couple of hours to just walk away and go enjoy that solitude of a shower. So yeah, I know I've been on TJ's site quite a plenty, and she has some great offerings. It's like super creative with what she offers, and it is a lot of like learning and seeing, like you said, along the way, what people are struggling with and what the moms really need. So let's back up. Let's see. So That's a great, yeah, I was reading Rashida's comment. And then Rashida posted, if anyone wants to become certified in doula, childbirth education, and lactation specialist, I need to copy this now. There's like a whole link she put in here, which looks awesome. And look at me over here trying to paste it, copy and paste it. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yes. And we're going to come back to that, Rashida, of why you may want to, even if you're a nurse and you're able to do this concierge style practice, like why you may still want to be a doula. So we'll come back to that. Don't let me forget, okay? Because I know you wanted to talk, say something about that. So I won't leave you hanging. So let's talk a bit about, Lord Jesus, this thing, y'all ignore my navigation. Just some basics of business startups. So some of you may already be business owners. You may have a good understanding of this, but all businesses start with, well, one, we're going to say a vision for sure, like, or a passion for sure. Even your own struggle and a problem that you realize that there's not a lot of solutions to solve it. And this is definitely one. Like I was saying in the beginning, this is not a super crowded lane, especially from the nursing perspective. So it is definitely a great one to step into, especially if it is something that you are passionate about. So business plan for sure. I always say to really map out what you would like to offer, who you're looking to offer it to, what the problem is that you're solving. And then from there, set some short and longer term goals, and budget. And what do you need to do as far as licensing, as far as training and mentoring? What are your startup costs? The great thing about most any concierge style business is that the startup costs are nothing compared to a lot of businesses out there. You can start a lot of these businesses, and especially this, with it being a huge opportunity for doing it mobile. I say less than $5,000, which in the realm with starting businesses, that's a pretty lean startup. Register with your state. Definitely do not use your home address. Have a virtual address. Have your business financing started, so your business banking. But let's pause, because some of that is kind of like, we know, right? But let's pause a little bit on insurance. So what kind of insurance do you need to operate a postpartum concierge? So we'll come back to TJ.
Okay, yeah. So I have NSO. I pay it, like I have the professional liability insurance, and I pay like $80 a month, not much, 80 something a month for it. I do not use my vehicle. Well, so now I'm looking at this automobile general liability. I'm like, maybe I need to, look more at that. I mean, I don't take anybody anywhere in my vehicle, but still, there could be liability there. So, and then the permits by the state, I mean, my nursing license, I do have, because this is for IV hydration, but I do have some other things that I have to have, as far as like your medical waste permits and things like that. So yeah.
Yes, definitely with IV. So, starting let's say you're doing postpartum, super simple, lean startup. Of course, IV therapy complicates things, because now that brings in a medical director, and that brings in the medical waste, and definitely, but even the storms around here. But even with all that, it's still, very, very easy, or I won't say easy. It's very straightforward, following the correct process, and not like a $50,000 to $100,000 expenditure to start. But I love the fact that, like, concierge nursing, concierge businesses, you can literally just take what's in your brain, your passion and your vision, and package it up and get it going without, too much red tape, because we know everything is red tape. The insurance, though, professional liability for sure. When I put general liability, definitely if you have an office or a location. Automobile, that definitely applies in my case, because I'm using my vehicle. However, if you're not transporting clients, not necessarily. Now, IV therapy, if you're doing like what do we want to say? A lot of driving to clients, you may still want to consider adding something for, business use. I will definitely tell you this: if you're going to put a decal on your car and drive it around, you definitely will want to have business. If you want to wrap your car, any of that, definitely have business insurance, because that's definitely now business use, so to say. So just something to consider. But professional liability, a lot of people think that they need something extra and different. Professional liability is more than sufficient. You just have to be sure they know what you are doing. So if you're doing IV therapy, if general nursing care falls under your regular RN professional liability insurance. Some people think that they need something special or extra, or they call in and say, I'm a concierge nurse. I've seen that. You're operating in the nursing role. So your RN, LPN, APRN, professional liability insurance should be fine, but still talk to them and just make sure. I always say, don't just do the quote, talk directly to them.
Right.
I would use the term concierge nurse, so to say. I would say, this is what I do, and describe it like what you're doing in your RN, LPN, or APRN role, rather than using some of these terms that they may not be familiar with, and then make sure that that is covered. Because honestly, the simpler you can keep things, the better, right? If you try to complicate it too much, I've heard people say like, well, they didn't know what I was talking about, or they told me they don't cover that.
Yeah. And I would like to add about the red tape. You mentioned that there's not a lot of red tape, and it's not. I find that the red tape sometimes, a lot of time, comes from, like, we are the red tape. Our own fears get in the way of us moving forward. And so a lot of my business startup price or expenses honestly were from mentorships and training. So I guess I bring that up just to let you guys know that as you go through this journey starting up, or you feel like you're stagnant somewhere in the business startup, you may need to really consider mentorship, some additional training to help coach you to move forward. Because I mean, to this day, I still have consultants, I have mentors, I have coaches. It's just because sometimes we'll get in our own way. So
absolutely. And you're so right, because there's times where I'm like, I gave you everything in me. I gave you everything. And some people are still like, I don't know. And I'm like, but you have it all. And they're like, I don't know. And you're so absolutely right. It's definitely us. And that's part of what we're here for, is we go, into talking about like what we're offering as far as our mentorship and course. Because what I've discovered is it's not always just even a course that is needed, but also mentorship. So before, we won't get into that yet, let's talk a little bit, just before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about who we can market to and who we should connect with for doing a postpartum concierge business. So I'm gonna just do a rundown, but TJ, I know she can speak to this because she is killing it doing this, but definitely look for who else serves your target client. I'll let TJ go more into who else that may be. We've mentioned a few. Also look at where they hang out and what other places or services they frequent, because you want to be where they are. And then one of my biggest things that I always talk to people who I mentor about is definitely Google My Business. Like, from the time you establish your business, you need to establish your online presence, because that's where people are. Once again, where are our people? They're online. They're looking for us. They can't find you if you don't make it to where is that proper English? But they're not going to find you if you don't set it up or put systems in place that allow them to find you. And one of the easiest ones is definitely Google My Business. There are other directories and other options, but go ahead and establish your online presence for sure. Network within your community, put yourself out there for community events. And then, of course, OB/GYNs, family practice doctors, chiropractors, but there's probably people I haven't even mentioned or that I know that you possibly talk to. So take it away, TJ. What else do you want to add to that?
So yeah, I mean, you hit it on the head, but yes, I would like to just go a little bit deeper. I know you guys probably have things to do. But this is so important because we have this amazing product, right? We have this amazing service. And I have spent like a year trying to figure out how to talk to this person, where they are, where they hang out, who do they look for, who's my competition. And so the same thing will apply to you. You will have to do research in your area. And that research may look like you being on social media, going into someone's, DM that you can start there. Someone just had a baby. Hey, just want to let you know I'm thinking about starting this wonderful postpartum concierge service. If I told you you could have a nurse come to you, 1 or 2 days a week, for a specific amount of time, would this be something that you would interest you? And so you just kind of do that, because your idea of how to find them, what they're needing, may be completely different. And so I've been through postpartum twice, so I have my own personal experiences. But as I did my research, I found that there were so many more women and families who, it was just like, well, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that. So I will tell you in a nutshell, the women that I serve, the families that I serve, what does she look like? She may be a first-time mom, right? She's already had a baby. She's probably in over her head, overwhelmed. She's looking at social media thinking, she's doing something wrong, because all these social media pictures make motherhood look so easy. And so she feels some type of way about that. It may be someone who's had a traumatic birth experience previously or during this time, and so they want some more support. They may have a known mood disorder. They may know that last time they had postpartum depression, or they have history of depression. And so they were educated on the importance of investing in this postpartum journey. Mm-hmm. She may be a mom of multiples. Like I said, the twin moms, they kind of know that it's going to be a bit much, and they are more than likely to invest. Mm-hmm. They may have complex medical case. They may have preeclampsia. They may have like a complex, anything just medically complex. They may not have any family around. They may be in need of lactation support. So this is what she looks like. And in a nutshell, she looks like this, but it is the individual who is empowered. She may invest in a doula. She may want to have a home birth. She may invest. She may go to the chiropractor. She may get her, go and get some acupuncture done. Is this type of client who will likely say yes to your service, because she knows the importance of self-care, the struggles that she may face, or something that she may be up against. She may want an empowered birth. She may want a VBAC, so look for those clients. Mm-hmm. Be where they are. Facebook groups, social media, using the hashtags. You have to really, really talk to them. And my coach, when I started my business, I was like, well, hey, I don't understand why I can't get these clients. Like, I'm telling them they feel overwhelmed. Why can't they understand that? And she mentioned to me, she was like, well, what does overwhelmed look like? And I was like, well, it means that, she can't really think day to day. She may feel like she's walking outside and not having her clothes on. She may feel like she's leaving stuff behind. She doesn't know which way is up, which way is down. And so this is how we talk to these clients. We have to paint the picture for them and not use the terms so much depression, overwhelmed, but what does it look like, so she can understand and how we can help her. So if you go to my social media page, you'll see a lot of times my stuff is very scripted, because I have to, speak to her.
Please go to her social media page. She she definitely has nailed down how to speak to that lady who's overwhelmed, but not by using the word overwhelmed or stressed or anxious or worried. She definitely has the words or the messaging nailed down to where it really speaks to them. Wait, I did forget this, and I do feel frustrated with that, versus just using those general vague terms that we all use. So definitely go to look at her Instagram. It's awesome as far as from that standpoint. And I'm glad you said that. Our target client is empowered. And that's how I look at it, even in my post-op world. They've done their research. They're looking they're like this, I need something like this, and this is what I'm looking for. They pretty well, they know that they want this, and they know that they deserve this, and they also understand that it is an investment, and they don't have to necessarily wait for, some services, that we can add on would be covered by insurance, but they don't have to wait for that. They're like, I'm empowered, and this is something that I'm doing for myself to support the experience that I would like to have as far as postpartum, childbirth, pregnancy. So I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have to network. So I know at the bottom it says who we need to network with, and that's my least favorite sometimes, because sometimes it makes you feel uncomfortable, but you have to let these disciplines know you're in the industry and what you do, and you have to remind them. So the only thing I would add probably would be midwives and other doulas, and yeah.
Yeah, because they're looking for us too. Like I said, even when you mentioned about doing the support groups at their offices, and I'm like, they're looking for these resources and looking for, let's think about this, y'all. Like, they don't have time in the office setting. They even, no matter how much they care, they just don't have the time. So to have that as a resource and an option, and to just know that you're out there, they're looking for you too,
Yes. And they will refer. They will refer, especially if they know that their client is always the one. I always say when I call their office, or if I go in, I say, hey, it's whoever's the one that you worry about the most. It's whoever's calling the office the most teary-eyed. Yes. That's who I need to be in touch with. Okay. So yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, I forgot I thought I was gonna say, but that's okay. It'll come back to me. That's how I work. My brain goes a million miles a minute. So yeah, that's a little bit about marketing. But I definitely know that I just feel like after even a few weeks of like really concentrated efforts, planting those seeds, I could definitely see it taking off. And I know what I wanted to ask you, because I know when we met, you were kind of at that frustrated point. You weren't sure if any of this was a good idea. So I was going to say, what do you feel like helped as far as just like light the fire, or start getting the more consistent clients and referrals? Because everybody wants to know that. Like, we don't have a business if we don't have clients.
Yeah. So for me, it was staying out of the mommy friend zone. Like it's a thin line between being friended, in that friend zone, saying, oh, you're doing amazing, you're doing great, you can do this, versus being what they need and being that authoritative figure to them, someone that they can trust and go to for their expertise. So that's been tricky. So taking a sales course has helped me, excuse me, my sinuses acting up, helped me tremendously in how I present myself. Before I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to. Well, if you're not asking for the sale, how are you, you've been in a friend zone. So once you get in that friend zone, it's really hard to come out and let them know. So it's like, and then understanding that this isn't a hobby. I can't treat it like a hobby. I have to treat it and run it like a business, So when you have that mindset, it's easier to make business-like decisions, and then surrounding myself with those mentors that can look at what I'm doing with a fine-tuned microscope, or to give me an idea I wasn't thinking about. And then being surrounded with like-minded people going through the same thing, going up against, the red tape or the limiting beliefs and things like that. So I would say that's all. I mean, I think
mindset, like, so many things change when you can change your mindset. Like, I'm telling you that, and I always say, like, nothing can stop what is coming other than ourselves. Like, we stop ourselves. So that's a good point. So that stood out to me, like, treating your business like a business, presenting your business like a business, and not presenting it like, so like I do this, well, is that something you want? But more so like, look, I know these statistics, and I know that this is what women deal with, and this is what I offer and how I support you. So like how you say it and how you present it is very important. I like that friend zone, because usually we kind of correlate that more so with like relationships,
Yep.
like guys hate getting stuck on the friend zone, but they probably get stuck there because of how they carry themselves, how they present
Mhm.
themselves, and because they're not assertive and asking for the sale.
Right.
So that's
Exactly.
I love that correlation, but that is so true. So y'all, before we're going to go into this Q&A, so I just wanted to tell y'all that we are absolutely excited to do our next concierge course, because I've been doing postdoc for the last year almost. It feels like 10. But anyway, we are transitioning into expanding what we offer as far as concierge style startups and courses. So that leads us to the postpartum concierge. And we're going in really deep in this. It's going to be a 90-day program, but what's going to start this program is a live event on the weekend of July 30th and 31st. We're going to take postpartum on the first day. We're going in, it's a full day class, virtual, everything's virtual. And then we're going to go into IV therapy on day 2, because as we mentioned, they do pair well. And even if you have a client that's your IV client, eventually they may be pregnant and be your postpartum client, and vice versa. But then also the word of mouth and being able to serve other members of the family, I know has really grown your business as well with the IV therapy. So we are going to have both of those courses, or both of those days, as a live event. And then from there, we will transition to the actual process of doing the setup of your business. So the reason that this is set up the way it is, if y'all know me and y'all go way back with me, y'all know that I started the post-op recovery bootcamp, and it was just the course. But what I discovered is that 9 times out of 10, we have mindset issues, myself included. We have systems issues, and we need to know some of the ongoing and some of the deeper aspects of really starting, and not just starting a business, because any and everybody can do that, but how do we really get our first client, and how do we make it successful? So with this being another very specialized area, I feel like it's very important to have that follow-up and mentorship. So even with that said, I did give the option of people who are going to say they don't want it, but this is what we're going to do. So we're going to have 2 different classes in one, because I love to deliver. That's just how I am. So we're going to have 2 classes, the postpartum the first day, as I said, IV therapy the second day. We're going all the way into marketing and sales specific to both. We're going into packages and pricing, especially for postpartum. We're going to talk about holistic care. We're going to definitely talk about systems, automation, documentation, networking and marketing. I see y'all. I know my people. I know y'all well. So yes, hold on. And of course, we're going to help with if you're expanding into the IV therapy, we definitely want to support you in the medical director collaborative physician process. So with that said, let's talk of just a little review of the bonuses. So y'all will have this replay, but we're going to go even deeper into just a course, or even deeper into business startup. We're going to have TJ and myself, but she's going to empty out her whole entire brain when it comes to organization and goal setting. Myself on mastering mindset, that is something that I've added to all my mentoring now. So mastering mindset is so important. We're going to go really heavy into social media. And like I said, go look at TJ's Instagram, and we're going to talk a lot about what the strategy is there, the what and the why of what she does and how she posts. So we're going to talk about converting, because a lot of the times, even myself, I'm like, okay, I'm going to post and I'm going to use some hashtags, but let's talk about conversion. That's a whole different level of people actually like coming for you or coming at you because they saw this post and they knew it was talking directly to them, and they need to know more now. We're going to share scripts for how, what you say, when you're doing your outreach and your networking. And like always, we'll have our own Facebook community so that while we're going through this process where we can talk and interact, and on top of the 90 days, about two sessions a month of actual live coaching calls that we will have after the 2 live events, where you also will be able to interact live and ask all the questions that your heart can desire. So then we're going to take all of that information and put it into action. The goal is that you're serious about this and you want to start your postpartum concierge within that 90-day window.